Okay, welcome everyone. As I've said, we are here to talk about the forward-facing professional resilience training for coaches and consultants. And tonight I'm going to walk you through some of the history of this training, what the logistics are if you would like to get this certification, and what you can do with it. So, as I was saying previously, our professional resilience training is about people that work with humans who might be in distress, humans who are suffering. If you are in the presence of people who need help, which many of us who are compassion driven choose jobs that put us into situations where people need help. And I should also clarify, not just humans, animals count too. We've actually had some studies that we've done with this particular training on veterinary care. So that is also part of all of this. So when we witness suffering in any living creature, there is potential for developing compassion fatigue. And this training is to help you be able to work with people who have compassion fatigue to both prevent it, to resolve it, and also to go beyond it to promote professional resilience and say, never again. We do not need to suffer for working in a compassionate way for compassionate means. So there are a few different pieces of this program. Ultimately, this first bullet is what I already said, but the second two, we have two different ways that this training can be used, and they're different levels. So everybody starts out becoming a coach. And with the coaching certification for professional resilience, you have the ability to deliver the accelerated recovery program, which we'll get into in more detail, in one-on-one settings to people. And so you will be both a person who has experienced that with some of the training, but then also be able to deliver that one-on-one to people. If you elect to continue your training, you can add on the forward-facing professional resilience consultant training. And this gives you the ability to work with groups, specifically doing the forward-facing professional resilience workshop and facilitating resilience groups that are more support group oriented in our forward-facing My Experience format, but specifically for professional spaces and specifically designed to prevent and resolve compassion fatigue. So I wanted to get into some of the history of how this program developed, and there is a timeline here that we can talk through. And I'm going to do my best to tell this story, and then I'm going to get myself fact checked. So we'll see how we do. So this goes all the way back. I'm actually going to start it in 1995 when Charles Figley coined the term compassion fatigue, and first was able to articulate what is described as someone experiencing trauma as a result of witnessing someone else's suffering. And then comes 1997, where Anna Baranowski, Kathleen Dunning, and Eric Gentry, who is the president of our organization, met at Florida State University and created the solution or a solution for compassion fatigue. So a lot of what they had been observing at the time was that people were articulating what compassion fatigue was, but as far as figuring out, well, what do we do now? That was a question yet to be explored. And so that's what they did. And 2 years later, they presented the results of their work with the Accelerated Recovery Program in Montreal and at the International Society for Traumatic Stress Studies. And this was presented as the first evidence-supported treatment for compassion fatigue. And then through 1999 to 2002, Baranowski and Gentry, they worked together to pull out the most potent pieces of the Accelerated Recovery Program. So at that point, I believe it would have been one-on-one, and said, hey, can we get this to more people more quickly if we put it into a workshop? And so it started as a 3-day workshop and then got reduced even more to a very, very potent 1-day workshop. And in 2002, they also published their protocol in Dr. Figley's Treating Compassion Fatigue, a collection of academic writings for that. And then from 2002 until now, the Accelerated Recovery Program workshop has been presented to over 100,000 participants and has a lot of research specifically about the workshop itself as training as treatment, that people can come to a forward-facing professional resilience workshop, get the Accelerated Recovery Program information that has been distilled into that potent 5-6 hours of presentation, and walk out already having some of the symptoms begin to be relieved. So that's a pretty big deal. It's a pretty cool thing. And you'll notice I've already did this just as I was describing this now, but in 2018, they changed the workshop name from the Accelerated Recovery Program to Forward-Facing Professional Resilience. And 2 years after that, the book was published, and Dr. Gentry did this book with 𝐥𝐞𝐚𝐫𝐧, who spent, Eric's going to need to help me with this, but I believe spent 30 years working as an emergency physician, which talk about opportunity for developing compassion fatigue. That is a very stressful, full of crisis, just being inundated by it every time you go to work. Emergency physicians do very, very difficult work. So being able to distill both of those perspectives into how the Accelerated Recovery Program or Forward-Facing Professional Resilience can be used to prevent and resolve compassion fatigue and promote growth going forward. All in the book. Book is orderable. We have it on our website. It's also on Amazon. And then in 2022, we at Forward Facing Institute unveiled our certified forward-facing coach and consultant training program for professional resilience. We just finished our very first cohort of 20 back in January 2023, and we are now operating with a hybrid program with rolling admission so that we can meet people where they're at when they're ready for training. All right, Eric, I think I'm officially unveiling you. How did I do? Is there anything you would like to add to my history?
You were spectacular. Absolutely spectacular. For sure. 35 years he was an emergency physician. 16 of those years he was medical director. But other than that, and we presented in '98 to the International Society for Traumatic Stress Studies.
Ooh,
but
I need to edit
close enough. Absolutely. Nicely done.
Also, hey, Eric's here. He will also help answer questions as we go through. Wonderful. Okay, Eric, do you have some examples of different kinds of people you've presented this with? 100,000 is a lot. So what kind of populations?
I've done 2 tours of Australia, UK, did it in Buenos Aires, and those were all mostly medical professionals, but I've done law enforcement, attorneys, just a whole slew of care professionals I've taken through the workshop. I think I've done the workshop more than 500 times over the past 25 years that that's been. And the fun thing about it is that it works.
Yeah.
That's what's fun. Is people, you know, that they apply the skills and their work life transforms.
And what we're really hoping is to spread this out to as many people as we can, because compassion fatigue has been a major issue since before we became even more aware of it with the pandemic, and it continues to grow, and we have the skills and the resources we need to deal with that. And the more people that we have able to offer that training, the better for everyone. So we're excited to be offering the certification program. Okay, let's go into logistics. Oh, yes, nice to clarify, for the Accelerated Recovery Program that we've been talking about, there are 5 main resilience skills that we teach, and they're all very important. They all have their own session, and here they are. Self-regulation, which is a major component of the forward-facing approach to everything, and intentionality. Those two go together. And then what's different from this particular program versus the health and wellness program are these last 3. And these are new content, though they may be somewhat familiar just by nature of the fact that we teach both programs. But this is special to the Accelerated Recovery and Professional Resilience Program: perceptual maturation, connection and support, and self-care and revitalization. So when we talk about the ARP, it's those 5 things being taught and practiced that we're talking about. Okay, let's take you through. Actually, before I get too far in, let me ask, are there any questions from the crowd so far? How are you doing out there? Everything okay? Everything makes sense? Yes, go ahead, Katie.
Oh, as soon as I unmuted, Jolene said hello. Hello, good evening. Glad to be here. Dr. Gentry did the PESI training with you last year. Could speak volumes of you and your work, and has really helped change my work with clients. So I'm a licensed professional counselor in Baltimore, Maryland, and I keep seeing this particular, your guys 1 hour, like, hey, what is this thing? So I'm glad to be here. So my question is, in terms of what you're going to speak about tonight, this can be for coaches / therapists. Is there a specific forward-facing institute training specifically for licensed therapists? And like, does it matter? Like, meaning like, no, there's not, but like what you're about to teach or share about these courses, like, you don't need to be licensed, but being licensed certainly helps.
Yeah, so the health and wellness track in particular has 2 different avenues of education for licensed versus non-licensed, just because it can be really helpful for licensed professionals to have certain information as they apply certain things in their practice. And when it comes to the forward-facing professional resilience program, we do not have separate tracks, because the material, it's basically the same whether you are a licensed professional or not. That said, depending on session 4, there is some work with desensitization. What we offer is something that's available to non-licensed or licensed, but we also create the space to say, if you have a certain way of working through trauma with people that you want to insert here as a licensed professional, you can. So there are more details with that in the training. Yeah, good question.
I'll add a little more to that. There is a 2-day compassion fatigue certification training that's only offered through PESI, and that is more academically based rather than skills. It's more knowledge acquisition about everything compassion fatigue, the history of it, looking at it through a salutogenic lens, the neurophysiology of compassion fatigue. So stuff that somebody who was not a licensed professional wouldn't necessarily need. But that's an everything compassion fatigue course that I designed and is available. If you wanted to do something, it's 12 hours video recorded that you can access that through PESI.
Thanks for the question. Anybody else? Last call before I go through the training logistics. Okay. All right, here's our roadmap, and I'll take us through each of these in more depth, but as an overview, both of our training programs start with forward-facing me, and the reason for that is that we want to have people practicing skills as soon as possible, and be doing that in community with other humans, because it's such an important part of recovery to have human connection. So forward-facing me is the entry point. forward-facing professional resilience workshop is the initial education, and that can lead to, well, first I'll say that can be done in our self-paced courses that you can find on our website, but it can also be done live, and we are about to do it live in early May. So more information about that a little later. And taking that workshop makes you eligible for 2 different certifications, depending on your professional status. So if you're a licensed professional, Evergreen will certify you as a compassion fatigue professional. And some people find us through that. So we accept that. We want to have some kind of certification as a result of this workshop before we move to the hybrid learning program. So if that's something that you've already done, then that counts. But the other option is to get certified through us as a compassion fatigue informed professional, and that works for non-licensed individuals as well. And frankly, it doesn't cost as much, so it's a nice it's a nice low-cost option. So once you are certified in one of these things, depending on what fits for you, we offer the hybrid learning program. And this is where we pair you with someone to go through the accelerated recovery program together as you are educating yourselves through our self-paced learning. Though it's not self-paced in that you get to decide how long you take, but it is as far as when you decide to watch videos. So the hybrid learning program can take as little as 10 weeks or as much as 5 months, but no more than that. And you will be working with me at this point, or a forward-facing professional resilience consultant, to keep you on track, to answer questions, and to make sure that you're supported adequately as you go through that with your partner. And then we have an exam to pass, and from there you are a certified forward-facing professional resilience coach. If you would like to, you also have the opportunity to do an exit interview with Eric, and part of that can be asking him questions about the contract we have all of our coaches sign before we certify them. It could also be other questions, but that is up to you if you want that. So let's go into a little more detail.
Let me just add that also for in the hybrid learning program that all the students do get an hour with me at midway through to be able to answer any questions and spend an hour together and process on anything that they have. That's included in that process.
That's right. So the first step here, forward-facing my experience, is we tend to call it just forward-facing me, is about personally mastering the first 2 resilience skills, and those are self-regulation and intentionality. And it takes a little time for them to set in. We can theoretically understand them from going to a workshop, but actually putting them to practice in everyday life can be a little harder, especially without structured accountability to remind you, hey, check in. Hey, what is the thing you are trying to do with your one precious life? So the forward-facing me groups originated initially from forward-facing trauma therapy, and they are all about that practice in a group with other people where you can report back. And this offers some psychoeducation, some skills development just by nature of the fact that you're reporting back. And it's in a group model, so you also get to hear from other people who are implementing the skills, which is so important when you're becoming a coach, because the way that forward-facing might click for you might not be the way it clicks for your clients. And so the more input you can get from different humans interacting with the material, the better a coach you're going to be. And then, oh yeah, and some history. The first group was held in spring of 2018, just to check and see, is this a good model? And I see Eric smiling over there. Do you have anything to add?
Not a thing.
All right. So I have probably already said all of this, but to check in and make sure, this is all about self-regulating your nervous system. Are you approaching the things in your life with the amount of energy they need? And no more, no less. And so this gives you the opportunity to start practicing self-regulation skills in everyday life, report back, and notice your patterns. When am I habitually in breach of my integrity with what I'm trying to do in the world because I'm being hijacked by dominant threat response. And as you develop the awareness, it becomes easier to continue practicing throughout life, which you're also going to need to be practicing this when with clients. So getting that practical application is essential. And this is an inherently healing process, because every time we bring our bodies back into a self-regulated state, we're inviting recovery. We're inviting physical recovery. And so when people go through our coaching certification programs, we want them to experience the things their clients are going to experience, because that's part of what develops the positive expectancy and the hope for them as they continue to work with the material with you. So you get to have some healing and transformation as a result of just doing the learning. And that's a pretty cool thing. The structure of these meetings is that we used to have just 6 weeks, but we've added a 7th just for everyone to be able to introduce themselves. And so that's what the first week is all about. Everybody's got to be there. And then it turns into a typical structure of sharing a successful moment of self-regulation and then an incomplete moment of self-regulation. And that's finished with some conversations and questions and a little bit more of an open forum of, how are things working for you? What do you want to troubleshoot? What questions do you have about this material? The big thing that creates some, I would almost say relief in this space is that there's no crosstalk. And so when people do get to share their successful and incomplete moments of self-regulation, it's about them being able to share and process in that moment. It's not about thinking about how others are going to respond. And that carves out this special set apart space for each person to share. And that's part of the science and the magic of it. Anything you wanted to add, Eric? All right.
That was great.
So from there, we go to the forward-facing professional resilience workshop, signature full-day workshop. This is the fancy peer-reviewed one. We've got a whole bunch of articles about it, studying the effects of just going to the workshop as training as treatment. And this includes all 5 of the skills from the accelerated recovery program. And you get to see them kind of gone through. Once you get into the hybrid learning, it feels like this is fast, going through all 5 of them. But it's a very effective overview of what you're going to be diving deep into with client work. So as I mentioned before, completing this workshop gives you the ability to get certified. You can choose which one works for you. I say do the compassion fatigue informed professional unless you already have Evergreen, just because it's cheaper. So our next forward-facing professional resilience workshop is on May 5th, and you are welcome to join us. It's up on our website, and I can get you a link after we're all done talking. All right. And then comes a hybrid learning program. And so this is hybrid because you do have a teachable course with access to videos of Eric explaining all of the 5 sessions of the accelerated recovery program. But you also have live time, and the majority of that live time is with a partner that you're paired with to go through this material. And what's really powerful about everything we do at Forward Facing is that it's peer oriented. And what I found going through this program myself is that, especially in the perceptual maturation area, it's really nice to be doing it with a peer instead of an authority figure, because there's some stuff you just want to hash out and yell about and have feelings about in the material itself before getting to a point of saying, okay, now this makes sense. So this is why we have the partner pairing as the core of this hybrid section. In addition to that, you have access to your consultant, and you get an hour-long session with Dr. Gentry mid-training. And as I've mentioned before, this can be completed in as little as 10 weeks, but no more than 5 months. It just depends on your capacity for getting through all the material, because on Teachable, we've got Eric going through all of the different sessions, but we also have sample demo sessions of him working with different people doing each of those sessions. And like a session can be an hour and a half to 2 hours long. And so just watching that, you're gonna need to schedule your time and budget your time wisely as you're going through. And then also you have to meet with your partner, and that takes time as well. So yeah, we work with each other's schedules, and you have a consultant to keep you on task. And that is how the hybrid program works. And then the last things involve just an exam, at least 80%, and signing the contract. And then if you want to talk to Eric for a little bit, you have that option. All right, let's see. Oh, and also, if you'd like to become a consultant, that happens after you've done all of the coach training. And we have one live cohort that Eric teaches per year, and typically for professional resilience, that happens in the fall. So you're going to want to get all of these steps done before then, so that you're ready to go when that training happens. Okay, so going forward from here, if this all sounds like, yes, I want to do this, sign me up. The first steps you have are to join a forward-facing me group, and our next one is in July. And this PowerPoint is lying to you. It's actually meeting on Thursdays at 4 p.m. Arizona time in July. I missed a bullet there. So that you can find available on our website to sign up. But the other thing that's a little bit closer, and it doesn't really matter which order you do these in, you just have to have them both done before you do the hybrid program, is to join us for our forward-facing professional resilience workshop. And you have a few options for that. You can sign up for it on our Teachable platform and take it self-paced, but you can also do it live with us. And our next one is on May 5th. And that is what I have available for now, but we are officially open for questions.
Let me add one more little thing to everything that we were talking about. For those folks that do go ahead and get the consultant level certification, what comes out of that is a whole suite of services to be able to offer to individuals who are suffering from compassion fatigue and help them to resolve the effects of that, to consulting with hospitals, with organizations, and being able to do workshops, being able to do something that we've called FF Pro, forward-facing pro, which is like forward-facing me applied in a professional context that can be either time limited or ongoing. So it's a whole kind of suite of services for you to be able to take into organizations and agencies to help them to resolve the negative effects of their work and to help make improve morale. I've done that with several large hospital organizations, and had the COO of Barnes Jewish Hospital. We had a luncheon when it was all done, and she banged her cup and she said, "Eric, you've changed the whole culture of this organization," which is a pretty powerful thing to hear from a COO. So all of those suite of skills, we want to make sure that you're launched with the ability to start right away of offering multiple different levels of service for people who are suffering from work-related stress. That's all.
Thank you, Eric. That was really helpful. Can you talk about the contract you signed?
It's a boilerplate contract that is that you recognize that you are a practitioner under a trademark and service mark of forward-facing. So ultimately, you are a franchise owner of forward-facing. You've completed the training program so that you are the only people on the planet that are authorized to be able to hold yourself out as certified forward-facing practitioners. You do have to have professional liability insurance, and then just, you know, all of the basic boilerplate stuff that's in any contract, a grievance process, who to contact, how to do mediation, all of that stuff that is basic for any kind of franchise contract. At the beginning, we just changed it. I would do an hour-long meeting with everybody that was signing the contract. But what's happened is nobody needs to meet on the contract because it's just so straightforward. that they've not, like, nobody's ever needed to talk to me and process the contract. We spent an hour together talking about things, but it's not about the contract. I want to just reiterate too what Emily said, that if anybody has any questions that they want to bring forward, that now's the time to do that. Jeremy,
Hey there.
it's good to see your face.
Good to see you too. One thing I was wondering is if you've gone through the coaching process with the other side of things with forward facing freedom, for example. Sorry if you've already touched on that. I just finished another group that I was in. I came in late. What does the process change at all for any of that? If you have had coaching training previously, or is it kind of like
yes, it's a completely different thing, because it's a 5-step protocol. There's 5 sessions for the accelerated recovery program. And then it terminates after those 5 sessions. The person could continue seeing you, as an ongoing coach and support after that. But the ARP itself is a 5-session manualized protocol. So it teaches you how to do that. Now, the ingredients are all in there that you would be doing with health and wellness coaching, especially the self-regulation training and the intentionality, work around intentionality. But it does add as Emily said, it does add a desensitization component for folks that are being plagued by work-related or personal memories that are intruding and thwarting them in their ability to do their work, or generating symptoms for them in the present. And it's a peer-to-peer protocol for being able to do that desensitization and integration. Plus, it's the perceptual maturation. It is understanding how to use the polyvagal skills of ventral vagal connection to help as a regulatory process, and how important that is in the connection and support. And then the self-care and revitalization is taking self-care beyond self-care, looking at what are the things that you have to do to not just indulge and soothe yourself, but to make yourself rebuoyant for the next day, the activities that you need to put into place that continue to keep you buoyant in a toxic environment.
I will add that once you've done forward facing me, and if you are once you've done forward facing me, and if you're up to date with your certification in your alumni groups, you don't have to do forward facing me again. So you can just start at the workshop.
I read some research last week that if you talk with your hands, that you have a much more powerful ventral vagal connection. So
I'm doing good.
Isn't that great? I
love it.
That is something that engages people into relational engagement.
On that note, I see a raised hand from Katie, and also there's a question from Cindy. So I'm gonna have Katie go first, and then we'll get to Cindy's question.
Okay, thank you. Somebody sort of touched upon this, and as I'm opening my own private practice, I already currently work. I work for a group practice, but work with like medical professionals. And as I look at opening my own private practice, I want to continue to do that. But professionals in leadership, because I do believe in the power that they have to create these larger systemic changes. But down to the nitty-gritty of the real business detail, my question is, as a forward-facing consultant, or sort of, I think Eric, or Dr. Gentry, you said
I'm Eric,
like a franchisee. Okay. So I, Katie Babcock, LLC, let's just say, go to XYZ hospital and say, hey, I want to present to your group of third-year residents this material. Am I doing that as a representative, as a forward-facing institute representative that is teaching this material, or am I doing it as 𝐥𝐞𝐚𝐫𝐸𝐶 LLC teaching this material? Does that make
You're
sense?
doing it as 𝐥𝐞𝐚𝐫𝐸𝐶 LLC in the same way that somebody's certified in EMDR is practicing EMDR. You're still, you're doing a trademarked intervention.
Okay.
But you're doing it, and there's no dues or fees to pay ongoing to be able to do that.
Okay.
So yeah, you charge what the market bears. We don't set the price on that. So you do all the negotiation, all your contracts with what you do is yours.
Gotcha. Okay. Okay. Thank you. I appreciate
You're
that.
welcome.
And then Cindy's question was, is there a fee we pay you to offer this program to clients? And I guess I can speak to that. The fee you pay us is for the training. And we didn't even have that in our PowerPoint. Shame on us. That was me. You can find all of that information on our website. We don't have any bundles for this one because it is kind of a step-by-step process. So you pay for each thing as it comes. And let me post a link to our website for that.
But once you're certified, there's not a charge that per session or anything like that.
Okay, one more thing. We'll see if it's only one more. Is there, like PESI has, you can sort of opt for the 1-year recertification, 2-year or 3-year. Is there a recertification fee? If so, how often? Is there a cycle on that?
Eric, do you want me to answer
Oh my
this?
goodness. No, we have not formulated that yet. The finery of that. There is a recertification program for each of the certifications. And that is requiring, just like Evergreen, 6 hours of focal work, and it doesn't have to be through us, but it does, if it's health and wellness, it needs to be something about trauma, something about some under indigenous to that, with the coach and consultant for professional resilience. Then you would need to do something in that realm. We will be making those courses as time goes on, that you can take them from us at a discount, but you don't have to. So you can get that anywhere out there. And we're not going to, if you're a consultant, then you just pay one fee, not for both the coaching and the consultant. You will just pay the one recertification fee.
And also there's alumni groups, right, Eric?
There are alumni groups.
Yeah.
So related to alumni groups, and also related to just like professional listings. So I've become a forward-facing professional consultant on like forward-facing institute. Am I listed like by location? And okay.
Yep. On our website. And Emily does really cool interviews with everybody who's certified, and does a real rich presentation of that person via our social media network.
That is a fun project in process. Yeah.
They're nice.
Yeah, actually, I should post the interview with Natasha. We specifically talked about this program. I'm gonna just flood the chat with links. Here it is. What else?
Really well done, Emily.
Thank you, Eric.
Yeah. It's pretty cool getting to work and engage with people all the time that are practicing forward facing. because you get to see each of our growth and how quickly we repair things, and it's really a beautiful community to be involved in. I'm really I love that as much as what we've been able to create with the training programs is the community that we have.
Mhm. Yeah,
It's
there are a lot of cool people.
maybe the only functioning community in the United States. There's several in Europe that is a salutogenic community.
Mm.
There's probably some other ones, but I don't know of any.
Well, if there are no other questions, I think we can wrap up. As far as next steps, there are a bunch of links in the chat. Feel free to open those up. And do you know how to get in contact with us? We have contact information all over the website if you need to get in contact directly. You can find us on the About Us page. We have different email addresses there. And if you do end up applying for the hybrid program, for the professional resilience, that's after you do Forward Facing Me and after you do the workshop, we'll be in touch too. So yeah, I hope to see some of you at our Forward Facing Professional Resilience workshop. It's going to be a good time. Eric and I will be presenting it, and yeah,
Along
that's a
with
good day.
some graduates.
That's right. Yeah, from our latest cohort.
From
So
our
you get to meet all the cool people that do this. All right. Well, thank you all for being here.
Hugs to everybody. Yes.